President Trump's pledge to invest $1 trillion in infrastructure made no mention of our country's outdated rail system. Amtrak is planning a summer of urgently needed upgrades. Those improvements will lead to more delays and cancellations at the nation's busiest train hub, New York's Penn Station. Peter Greenberg is on a train from Philadelphia to New York with why our passenger rail service has struggled for decades. Peter, good morning.
Good morning. It might be hard to believe, but 2017 marks the 53rd birthday of the high-speed bullet train service in Japan. Amtrak, which was created 46 years ago, has struggled since it began service. Decades of insufficient funding and infrastructure investment have left America's passenger rail network lagging behind most of the developed world. For over a century, railroads were the backbone of America. Trains moved people between cities and provided freight transport for industry. But by the mid-20th century, competition from interstate highways and airlines forced many railroads out of business. In 1971, Amtrak was established as America's passenger rail service. But from day one, it was plagued with problems it still hasn't solved. Most routes never made a profit. And in many cases, Amtrak doesn't even own the tracks.
There's about 150 trains on the whole Northeast corridor.
Stephen Gardner oversees planning for Amtrak.
In order to run fast, frequent, reliable passenger trains, you really need to build a system for just that.
A dedicated system.
A dedicated system.
But it's not just dedicated systems. It's funding new tracks across the entire Amtrak network. The Acela, which is supposedly our high-speed rail system, can only go 150 miles per hour on a small section of track. To compare, the bullet train in Japan can reach speeds of 200 miles an hour to make the 250-mile trip between Tokyo and Osaka.
We're decades behind our counterparts from around the world.
Deborah Hersman is president and CEO of the National Safety Council.
Part of this is because we don't have a dedicated funding stream that supports that initiative.
The good news is that Amtrak has ordered 28 high-speed trains for the Northeast Corridor, with the first of these scheduled to be in service by 2021. The problem, there are currently no plans or the necessary funds to build the tracks needed to support high-speed rail.
I think what's lagged is kind of the broader issue, which is investment in infrastructure and transportation generally. That if you look across our network, we are underinvesting in all of our assets.
Those dedicated systems are now being built, some with private money. In California, a high-speed rail link between the Los Angeles area and San Francisco is now under construction, but we'll need to be patient. It won't be finished before 2029 at the earliest. But in South Florida, the nation's first privately owned higher-speed rail project, Brightline, is moving faster and set for launch later this year. In Florida, when Brightline gets up and running, it will handle the 205-mile run between Miami and Orlando with speeds of up to 125 miles an hour. Now, that's still technically not high speed, but at least it's faster. While Brightline may be new, it's not solving Amtrak's problems and the continuing need to move people by rail.
We have to rebuild the infrastructure to make sure that it stands the test of time and can operate decades into the future. Our economy is riding on the back of this infrastructure, and we've got to take care of it.
In the end, it all gets down to money. Amtrak goes to more than 500 destinations across America. But if the current Trump budget plan is approved, many Amtrak officials are worried they may have to close more than 200 stations across America. Alex?
Peter, thanks. Important story about Amtrak and infrastructure.